Our next guest here with his own insights into the drama inside the White House on tariffs and trade and so much more. Axios Trump White House reporter Marc Caputo, you can weigh in on this. You know, you were there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here we are on Friday. So think about where President Trump was on Tuesday compared to where you think he is mentally about all this right now.
I think mentally he's been in the same place the entire time. And one of the problems that we spend is that we don't understand that when you look at what Donald Trump wants to do with tariffs, he's been talking about stuff like this for 38 years. And that's at least 38 years. 1987 is the first time he gave a political speech in New Hampshire talking about other countries ripping us off and needing to have better trade deals. So look at him directionally, or as some people like to say in the past for 2016, take him figuratively, not literally in some cases. So directionally, this is where he wants to go. But when it comes to the specifics and the details, the devil is sort of in them, and so is the noise. The signal is tariffs. The signal is better trade deals. But the noise is all of these specifics on the percentages. I mean, eventually, we're going to probably wind up with some sort of tariff when all of this is done. But when Trump says something like, I don't care if it's 50%, that's sort of the guy on the bar stool quality of Donald Trump. I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, because the guy on the bar stool could ultimately get in a fight or do something kind of crazy. But generally speaking, he does have a circle of advisors around him, and they are trying to channel this energy into a more productive outcome. But
okay,
exactly what that
speak
looks
to this
like
though, and tell me what you
know.
speak to this and tell me what you actually know. According to this timepiece, Trump is suggesting that he's in touch with President Xi.
Yep.
Since that interview, the Chinese government has said we've had no talks, and they've now said that pretty vehemently. So what's really going on here?
Oh, I have absolutely no clue. I don't trust our government. I've never really trusted our leaders, but I trust other governments even less. So who's telling the truth here is anyone's guess. But again, what I would default to here is that Donald Trump wants some sort of tariffs and he wants some sort of deal. And until then, it's his world and we're living in it.
Okay, but let me ask you a different question. In terms of, and we've discussed this many times, negotiating leverage, where do you think the leverage really exists? We also were reporting this morning that Apple, considering moving its Apple phone manufacturing, at least for those phones being manufactured for import into the U.S., might be able to move to China within a year, or at least about a year and a half from now. That would, I would imagine, actually provide more leverage in some ways to the U.S. In its negotiations with China.
I can tell you this is the mood and the attitude of the White House and of Donald Trump, according to those with whom I've spoken, who have spoken to him, is that they still believe that they have a measure of leverage. They believe that China's economy still heavily relies on the United States. And when people have talked to Donald Trump, they have told me that they're struck by the disconnect or the difference in the news coverage and the coverage of the stock market, the numbers, the falling dollar, the falling number of tourists, the falling number of people who believe that the economy is getting better, and the attitude of Donald Trump, which they say is rather buoyant. They say he's having a good time. And when you talk to him, he's like, you can't believe this. This is great. Japan's coming in for a deal. South Korea's coming in for a deal. Vietnam's going to do a deal. It's going to be great. Now, is this the P.T. Barnum showman of him? Is he in denial? Or is he genuinely serious? That's one of those eternal questions with Donald Trump that, again, I can't answer. But what I could say is his team still believes that this can get done and it's going to be good. Whether they're right or not, we're going to see.
Right. Let me ask you a different question. It's a negotiating question. There's a great phrase called favored nation status. Corporations use it all the time, but it actually represents a favored nation status as in countries. To the extent that certain deals are made, maybe Japan or India comes in with one of the early deals, or South Korea comes in with an early deal, it almost will set a benchmark in certain ways. And the question is whether other countries, therefore, then have more leverage or less leverage going forward. How do you see that?
I could see, I think it's easier for me to answer what I see as being the likeliest deals to come in first, and those are the ones you mentioned. Japan especially. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, it really loves Japan. He wanted to be ambassador to Japan if he wasn't going to be Treasury Secretary, according to the people with whom I've spoken who were familiar with the transition. And he has said whoever comes in first gets the best deal. Now, obviously, these deals, these trade negotiations depend on nation to nation. Japan has various barriers to trade. But according to people who also represent Japan, at least one or two lobbyists with whom I've spoken, They say that they believe that things are going pretty well, and they wouldn't be surprised if something is announced soon. Now, there are, again, those high barriers to trade in Japan itself, so how that sort of moves along isn't clear. The other issue is South Korea. We've had essentially no tariffs on them anyway, so it's probably going to be easy to negotiate a deal there as well. In addition to the trade aspect of this and the tariff aspect of this, there is a global security aspect to it as well. And this is part of the mixed messaging, sort of, so to speak, that you've heard out of the White House, which is not only does Trump want better negotiations, better deals, more money to come into the U.S. Treasury from tariffs, but he also wants to isolate China. So just as there's a most favored nation status that you're discussing, there's sort of a least favored nation status in Trump's mind, and that's China. He wants to isolate China as best he can.